In today's episode, we end the debate about apple cider vinegar and dive deep into the science behind a lot of the amazing claims that you've heard about it. When you have to find out what people think about something on the internet, there's only one place you go to: Reddit. And here's a list of the most popular claims I could find out about apple cider vinegar. Number 1, a shot of apple cider vinegar in the morning gives you more energy. Okay. Number 2, it cures dandruff. Some people could use that. I have nice hair. Number 3, apple cider vinegar cures heartburn. Number 4, ACV reduces the amount of glucose that's absorbed in your bloodstream after you eat a meal. And number 5, ACV increases the rate of fat oxidation. That's what we all want, right? Pretty interesting myths. Let's get into it, shall we? Number 1, energy. Well, no, there's no real science behind this. A lot of people think that they get a jolt of energy after they drink it is actually because they get a jolt.
Power thirst!
Most people abhor and just hate the taste of apple cider vinegar so much that as soon as they wake up, if they drink a shot, it basically shocks their body and that leads to a cortisol spike and you just feel like, whoa, what just happened?
Chocolate!
And you feel more awake and more energetic. That's pretty much the only explanation for this. There are no essential calories in apple cider vinegar. There's just a few minerals, there's no nutritional value in it, so you can't really get a lot of energy from it. Sorry. But drinking a shot of ACV in the morning, that's some hardcore rocky stuff right there. So number 2, dandruff. A lot of people suffer from this and this is a fairly common thing that it's used for, but here's why you shouldn't. So this myth is basically all about creating a concoction of ACV with some other stuff and applying it to your scalp, and apparently it cures dandruff. It doesn't. This makes no sense and it's not a great thing to do. ACV is basically diluted acetic acid, and even though it's diluted, it's still acidic enough to really do some harm to your skin. So ACV has been shown, at least anecdotally, to get rid of heartburn and acidity. And here's the reason why. There's not a lot of evidence that backs this up.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
But there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of anecdotes about it, and that should, point towards something. So you see, the pH of a substance is basically a measure of how much more or less acidic that substance is in comparison to pure water. And each value on the pH scale is an increment of a factor of 10. So 7 is neutral and is the pH of pure water. 6 is 10 times more acidic than pure water. 5 is 100 times more acidic, and 4 is 1,000 times more acidic, and so on. The stomach is used to digest food, and a healthy stomach is supposed to have a pH of about 2.5 because of the oodles of hydrochloric acid that it produces to digest this food. But when the stomach is unhealthy, like it is for most of the population today, the amount of acid present in the stomach reduces. And then whenever we eat the crap that we're so used to eating all the time, our stomach just doesn't have enough acid to digest it, and we end up getting indigestion and acidity and heartburn. So this basically happens because between our esophagus and our stomach, there's a valve which doesn't close properly when the pH is off. And so all of this undigested food along with the remaining bits of stomach acid just sprinkle onto your esophagus and you feel it burn. Having apple cider vinegar can logically help with this situation, because even though the pH of ACV is significantly lower than that of your stomach, it's still going to push things in the right direction. And so it makes sense. Number 4. Now, as far as glucose absorption is concerned, this fact is absolutely backed by science. So it's one of my favorites. The ability to reduce the amount of glucose that's absorbed from your meal is something that should be taken advantage of, but you really need to know what you're doing in the big picture. Here's why. Suppose you have a really carb heavy meal, like you load up on pizzas and hamburgers and just dessert it out, and then have some apple cider vinegar on top of it. Yes, the amount of glucose that will be absorbed by your blood is going to be lower, which is great because the amount of insulin that gets produced for this lower amount of glucose is also going to be lower, which means that you're going to store a lower amount of fat than you would have if you hadn't had this glucose curbing effect, which would have led to a whole bunch of insulin being produced. But it's a double-edged sword, because now that your body isn't absorbing it, all of that sugar is still in your system. It's sitting in your gut, just wreaking havoc for the entire gut microbiome. Till you don't push it out when you poop, it's just not a great idea for your gut bacteria, because that stuff controls everything about you, from your mood to how much energy you have to everything. Number 5, fat oxidation. This is amazing, and this is also completely backed by science, so it's awesome. So one of the best and most scientifically backed advantages of drinking apple cider vinegar is that it increases your satiation. This is a result of increasing the rate in your body at which fat is being oxidized. In most people eating a mixed diet, both glucose and fat are being burned to create energy, and the amount of glucose that's burned in comparison to the amount of fatty acids is basically dependent on how many carbs you eat. But that's essentially what's happening. You're burning both. ACV will increase the amount of fat that's being burned in this mixture, and that's going to help you feel more full because you're going to have more access to more fatty acids. The reason more fat can be burned now is because ACV activates this enzyme called AMP kinase or AMPK, which essentially controls the amount of fat oxidation in your body. This can also help you reduce fatty liver more quickly, because doctors know this, they've seen this clinically. Livers that have a mutation where more AMPK is produced essentially can gather no fat around them, while livers that have a mutation that cannot produce AMPK produce only liver fat. And because of this fact, some pharmaceutical companies have also started conducting trials for drugs that manipulate AMPK as of 2021. And last but not least, for everybody who made it this far, here is a science-backed bonus. ACV can make our anti-aging pathways work better by reducing the pH of our gut and making pepsin, which is a prebiotic fiber, more available to the gut microbiome. And the gut bacteria are going to eat this and turn it into butyric acid, which ends up activating something called PPAR alpha, which basically has anti-aging effects on our entire system. Pretty cool if you ask me. Apple cider vinegar has a place in making us healthier, but it only complements an already existing healthy diet. It only works if we know what we're doing and we keep our expectations in check and use it to work towards moving towards our goals. If you want me to bring you more evidence-backed science about nutrition and the optimal human diet and create a safe place where we can actually debunk all of the junk information about nutrition that exists on the internet, then smash that red subscribe button and smash like. Share this with as many friends as you know, everybody basically, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. See you.